gentlemen, have you ever wondered exactly in pro wrestling has the best gimmicks? Let's talk about it and let's find out. We welcome to 12 Gauge Uncut with Rocky Shaw and Tania Shaw. Let's dig right in. Hey, Tania, how are you today? Laughing. This is fucking everything up.
You sounded like a baseball announcer.
Well, it's broadcast quality audio here.
Is that what it is? Okay. All right.
So,
I'm good.
okay, you're good. I'm glad you're good. We're talking today about the best wrestling gimmicks of all time. That's pretty obvious in some of these. We might surprise you. So I wouldn't bet just yet, because this is actually, me and Tania both went over this list and we came up with what I think and she thought in review, which, you know, I'm the brains of this operation. Mostly me.
Mostly him.
Had the best gimmicks of all time, or as I could remember. Now, if you will remind me, I do have an honorable mention from Stuart Bailey that that would actually I need to put on this list, but we'll come back to that one too, and we'll do that as our number 5.
All right.
In the honorable mentions.
Okay.
All right. So let's dig right in and go to. You said we are going to start
with number 10.
Number 10.
Let's do a countdown.
A countdown.
A countdown.
All right.
So who is your number 10 best wrestling gimmick?
My number 10 best wrestling gimmick. This one is kind of near and dear to me, and I wished he would be up even further on the list than he is currently. It's the man called Sting. And you know as well as I do, Sting has kind of a special place in my heart for wrestlers. Back in, well, it's too long ago now for us to really talk about, but at Dillard's Music, WCW appeared once there. And it's the only time I remember in my childhood, other than several appearances in Dalton, that me and my childhood best friend, Jeremy Wynn, had to opportunity to go. Our librarian was Pee Wee Anderson's wife at Johnson. And he provided us with free tickets because our parents did not pay to go to live events and things like that. It was hard enough to talk them into carrying us for free tickets. So that being said, we went all excited. We finally got done. I think it was probably a Saturday show. You know, we get done with school on Friday. We're all hyped up and they carry us, and I get to see people pulling in. I see Stone Cold comes swerving into this driveway on 2 wheels. You know, it's a gravel drive, especially back then. It was a gravel driveway. It still is, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And I mean, he slides in and he's just jumps out of the car and just cussing this dude out. One of the other dudes got in his parking place and cut him off from getting into that parking place. Mm-hmm. And this tells you that he didn't necessarily, he believed and lived his gimmick. Stone Cold was one son of a bitch. But he had blonde hair back then. Getting back onto the story, as that night went on, we got to see some great WCW wrestling for a kid. We loved it. As the night went on, you know, what we want to do is get autographs, right? You've got to meet your heroes. Our first opportunity, the number 1 we meet, is the legendary Harley Race. Harley does give us an autograph, but he does call us a bunch of little bastards. Yeah, but this is anybody that knows Harley Race, this isn't to completely be expected. Mm-hmm. Harley was rough and, you know, tough, and I probably, well, even at that time, wouldn't want to mess with him. That being said, then comes Davey Boy Smith. Davey come walking out because he obviously took a shower or somewhere there and had a towel wrapped around him. And we were like, Davey Boy, let me get your. He was looking. It was completely an asshole. Davey was the baby face at this time. And just told us to bug off, that he didn't have time for us or whatever. We were devastated because this was the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, that was one of our heroes. And we're just kind of standing there, kind of still absorbing what just happened. And we hear a voice come out from behind us. There's, you know, hey guys, you want to walk over to my car and I'll sign you some autographs. Turning around, here's a, you know, 6'4" blonde haired guy with a rat tail in the back. He washed his face paint off already. and this was Sting. And so, of course, we are just overwhelmed with the fact that Sting slides upon his hood, you know, and of his car, like typical, like something you see out of an 80s movie, right?
Right. Yeah.
And starts signing autographs and talking to us, asking questions. He brings over, I cannot remember the other wrestler right now. He brings over a few other guys over there to kind of introduce us to them and as they were coming out. But totally awesome, and it could have changed an experience from us that night quickly, of what we thought of pro wrestling and how they actually treated their fans.
Okay.
So that being said, I'm trying to remember the posture up here. The last time I felt like I crouched down to talk to you because I was trying to talk to somebody shorter than me. But
You're always trying to talk to somebody shorter than you.
most of the time, this is true. Not all of the time. So, with that being said, going to Sting you saw the blonde Sting with the multicolored face paint. Personally, my favorite. Then you've got to the Crow Sting that when the NWO had took over, and he obviously did the whole skit with the baseball bat, the crow. But man, how far has he carried this gimmick? That gimmick then went into the Wolfpack Sting, which was the red and black. Then you go into, see where we would go from there. The Joker Sting in TNA, where he actually killed the Heath Ledger style Joker style gimmick as well. Sting kept that gimmick alive for a relatively long time. And it was Sting, and he's a true legend. So congratulations, number 10 being Sting. So where does that leave us going here? We're going to number 9.
Number 9. Who's your number 9?
Number 9. You know who this guy is?
Mm-hmm.
Even you know who this guy is, and you didn't watch wrestling as long as I did.
No, I haven't watched wrestling near as long as you.
Near as long.
I don't know that I knew who that was before I started watching wrestling with you.
Well, if you were watching wrestling or even some of the movies back in the 80s, you should have known, especially late 80s, is the Hot Rod, Rowdy Roddy Piper. And again, the Hot Rod, much like Stone Cold Steve Austin, I would say he had to be one of the inspirations of Stone Cold Steve Austin, because the Hot Rod was, and I guess the 12 gauge too at this point, is if they could have canceled him on TV, they would have multiple times. Hot Rod said what he wanted to say. He cussed when you weren't supposed to cuss on TV, got fined on TV. Piper's Pit is notorious for a lot of stuff happened on the Piper's Pit that made history. Not only did you get Roddy Piper cracking a coconut over Superfly Jimmy Snuka's head, you go into things like what else happened on the Piper's Pit. The Rockers broke up, and Shawn Michaels put Marty Jannetty through that glass pane window, which we know where Shawn Michaels went after that.
I imagine Marty Jannetty went to the hospital.
Marty Jannetty did go to the hospital. Marty Jannetty kind of disappeared for a while. He came back and forth, but ultimately it became Shawn's time. To the moon, I mean, he went, but all because of Roddy Piper. And Hot Rod had so many great feuds. Bad News Brown. I remember Bad News Brown had the sewer rats in a bag. So kind of the opposite of Jake the Snake Roberts had the big Damien the Big Python. No. He had sewer rats, because that's what in the ghetto what you would have.
No rats for me.
Let's see what I mean. Hot Rod feuded with Bret the Hitman Hart in an epic feud. It got personal, and there was a lot of family stuff going back and forth between the two. But yeah, I mean, so Roddy Piper, everybody's going to say if I'm going to get in trouble if I don't mention the fact that Roddy Piper and Greg the Hart Valentine in the famous dog collar match. That match, if anyone knows anything about a dog collar match, is still probably the most famous dog collar match of all time. And I've been in one of those.
You have been in one of those before.
So, And let's move on, I guess.
All right. So, are there any tag teams on your list?
Ooh, tag teams. I don't know.
So, who's
Tell you
number 8?
what, Tania,
What?
get the tables. Y'all want to guess who that is? That's right, the Dudley Boys. The Dudley Boys, I had to put a tag team on here, and who more fitting than the Dudley Boys? There's been great tag teams, and I'm sorry, probably should have made the list. I probably should have put the Legion of Doom or the Road Warriors on here as well, but let's be honest, there was something contagious about the Hardy Boys. They
The
didn't look
Dudley Boys.
the Dudley Boys, excuse me.
Yes, yes.
I said the Hardy Boys.
You
which
did
another
completely different tag team,
I
but
did. So my apologies, guys.
good tag team.
Good tag team, great tag team.
Yeah. But we're talking about the Dudley Boys.
Dudley Boys had a gimmick.
What was it about their gimmick?
I mean, come on, nerdy glasses for Bubba and Devon. I mean, come on, man. A black guy looking like a nerd. I mean, yeah. I mean, and then you had Spike when Spike was in there. Spike was this scrawny white kid that everyone used as a throwing dart, basically. I mean, I don't know what Spike Dudley was, 150 pounds maybe. And so I remember seeing The Undertaker take Spike and throw him from the middle of the ring all the way to the floor on the outside, which was one of the most hellacious bumps I've ever saw in my life. And I'd heard Mark Calloway say, or The Undertaker, that he was like, Spike, do you really want me to do this? Like, I won't do this. And he was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. So, Spike Dudley, you're nuts. I will say that if you could still walk. And if you can't, I really wish, I could send some healing your way because you were an awesome entertainer. Thank you for the bumps. But yes, the Dudley Boys, everybody knows it, just like now. When you get that shove, you're gonna hear, get the tables. Devon, get the tables. So that being said,
all right back to it. Who's your number 8?
Number 8.
No, I'm sorry.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Yes. Now, see, you messed up.
I did. The Dudley Boys was the number 8.
All right.
So now number 7.
So this is one you don't know.
I do not know number 7. When you threw it out there, I'm like, I don't know who that is.
So in the comments, guys, after you listen to this, I want to hear feedback from you.
Do you know
who number 7 is? And if you don't, get your ass over to YouTube and punch this in and find out. This is the teacher, RN mentor that trained Asuka and Tajiri. This is the Great Muta. And if I'm not mistaken, the Great Muta's retirement match, I want to say I may be wrong on that, but I think the Great Muta's retirement match was with Sting. And maybe one of his retirement matches, I know definitely was. But Muta and Sting had, when the Clash of Champions, whenever the two territories, Japan and WCW, crossed, these two had an epic rivalry. And everything that you see in the Japanese competitors today, when it comes to the face paint, the mask, the green mist spray, is all because of the Great Muta. And the Great Muta was not only a very technical wrestler, he also had the kicks. He had those unique moves for the time that just defined a generation and made everybody want to see Japanese wrestlers. If it wasn't for the Great Muta, you wouldn't have saw as many great wrestlers in Japan that were coming over at that point in time to perform over here. And that's definitely has to cement my number 7.
Number 7. All right, that's number 7, the Great Muta.
Yes.
All right, now 6.
Number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6. I feel like I should have a sock for my hand.
We should have got you one.
I should have gotten a sock for this.
You couldn't have stuck it in my mouth, though. That's not okay.
We're going to get off subject here if you start talking like that. So, we were going to go.
So,
number 6.
Who had a sock in their gimmick?
Oh, or who was more serious for saying, have a nice day. Oh, then that would be Mick Foley, or the many variants and faces of Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
You had Mick Foley, you had Cactus Jack,
Mm-hmm.
and you had Mankind. Each one of those had a different wrestling, I don't know what mystique to it. Mankind was completely nuts and crazy, obviously
Right.
sadistic, psycho. Look what happened in Hell in a Cell.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had Cactus Jack, which in his own, it was more a lot hardy, but still very dangerous and risky. Then Mick Foley, kind of the friendlier version. Then you had the Rock and Sock connection with The Rock. So those three things, but in wrestling, it's hard to, again, to dynamically shift your gimmick so that the fans enjoy it. Not to
Mm-hmm.
mention a three characters in one on the fly. So Mick could actually come out as any of the three and still be over with the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So big accomplishment for that. Mick was definitely, you have to see he had the creativity because he didn't have the body.
Right.
I mean, Mick was not going to be on Sports Illustrated at any point in time in his career for his body. And
The
so,
creativity and a few loose screws.
if you're in pro wrestling, you have loose screws. Let's just be honest, myself included. You cannot do this business if you are not one damaged in some psychological way and have a screw loose. Just a fact. So you can deny it if you want, but 100% true. So let's move on past that. You're gonna like this one because mommy's always on top. But in this case, mommy's in number 5.
Mommy's number 5.
Mommy's number 5. So why don't you lead this one off a little bit and tell us a little bit about why you think mommy deserves number 5?
This is your list.
It's my list, but you got to talk too.
Well, obviously, mommy is Rhea Ripley, and oh well.
We've told her not to hit things on the mic and everything, and she's completely off the rails when it comes to controlling herself.
Sorry, little ADD.
So,
So Rhea Ripley.
yes,
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley. Let's just break it down to basics. The hair, the makeup,
Mm-hmm.
the attitude that she carries along with herself. It's very confident, very sexy confident. That, but she backs it up with an in-ring capability that,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
she's very technically sound
yes, I
with
mean,
the wrestling.
absolutely. I mean, we
See,
often,
Lana is who you need here to talk about Rhea.
yes. So I just took the pen away from her, guys, so that y'all would stop hearing the thumping on the, against the desk or whatever.
Well,
So
what am I going to do with mine?
I got some ideas, but so anyway, guys, this is 12 gauge uncut, by the way. So you will hear sometimes what you hear,
Let's see, what's this?
but stop, put that down. So let's go back to Rhea
I need a
Ripley.
fidget toy.
And so, but Rhea does, even the addition of the makeup, and she doesn't go crazy with the makeup.
Well, I mean, it's pretty dramatic.
It is very dramatic.
It fits the character,
It
though.
does fit the character.
Yeah.
So, but again, Rhea wrestles to her gimmick and her style.
Mm-hmm.
So she looks like what you would think she performs like in the ring, but she performs very impressive. So let me ask you, since it's running across the internet right now, what would you call the pin that she just gave Liv? What would you name it? She said the pretzel, and then Damian Priest said the take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
So so yeah. So what would you call this pin?
PMP.
PMP?
PNP.
PNP. So what does PNP stand for?
Not something I want to say out loud.
Okay, guys. So she's blushing a little bit, and I think even I got a little bit red, but apparently she doesn't want to be uncut.
No.
On
I
here.
got a reputation to uphold.
A reputation to uphold. Preacher's daughter.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we will say number 5 was obviously Rhea Ripley.
Yes.
So
Maybe
let me tell you
maybe the
something about number
B2B.
4. Number 4 would be Hulk Hogan, brother. And so,
Now I did know who he was growing up.
who doesn't know who he is?
Exactly.
If there
Exactly.
is an alien if there is an alien species,
they know who Hulk
they
Hogan
know
is.
who Hulk Hogan is.
Yeah.
If they don't know anyone, they could not even know who our president was.
No.
But would have known who Hulk Hogan
No.
was.
And I bet the number 1 song on their radio is I Am a True American. I mean, it's that song that like throws through your head
And
after
it
you
makes
hear
you
it.
feel patriotic.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
to be honest, when let's like what 4 days after Trump was shot at and and missed and failed to be assassinated, he put Hulk Hogan on with his music. There couldn't have been a better political move in history than what just happened right there, because who does not feel patriotic when they hear that song?
This is true.
I mean, you pulled all of the boomers, the Gen X's, you pulled them right to your side right away just by hearing that song. So, say what you will personally about Trump. I don't care about politics. We're not going to get into it here, but damn, what a move. That was, I mean, you brought Hulk Hogan, as we said, is probably one of the most well known Americans in history. And
Probably.
we'll go down there. And despite you can say he's had some up and downs in his career, what people say, when you're a celebrity, you are picked apart for every single thing.
Oh yeah, you're definitely under a microscope.
Yeah, so you don't even know. I mean, he could have had one bad day, could have turned his whole career around.
Yeah.
I know that's not giving anybody excuses, but we are humans too. So,
well, I mean, how many of us have said something, off the cuff that was inappropriate or
not me, never.
Not you,
Never, ever.
The difference is he is in a position where that can be picked and prodded and pulled apart and
absolutely he is. And
so
people often say, and this is the funny part, is if we'll go out and even you and the kids pick out one, we'll go out somewhere and somebody goes, Rocky Shaw. But by the end of the day, ultimately, nobody knows who the hell I am.
No.
If you go
locally, yeah, but
a few people
I am not going
here
to take
there,
you to New York to Times Square and people are going to recognize you.
But I may have 4 people say hey to me when I'm out.
Yeah.
And there's what, 7, how many people in Rome? I don't even know.
I don't know either.
Thousands.
Yeah.
So ultimately, nobody knows who the hell I am really. I'm famous in a small square.
Mm-hmm.
So Hogan, nobody in the world doesn't know who Hulk Hogan is.
This is true.
You're going to know who he is right off the bat. I mean, you couldn't the size, the hair. There's no way you could even hide it with a baseball cap or anything else.
No.
So the Superman trick is not applicable here.
No.
So again, Hulk Hogan, a real American, and it's not to mention, I'm going to go on just a little bit further about that. Probably, and this is going to tie into the next one, had the biggest heel turn in history of wrestling. No one, not a soul, could have ever done the heel turn that Hulk Hogan did.
No, and he basically just dyed it black.
He just dyed it black, but it was his actions. I mean, he just changed the colors, but his actions that night in joining the NWO and turning on Macho Man Randy Savage. I mean, wow. And those both two had a rivalry for years too, and they were together, not together, brothers, not brothers, so, but wow. I mean, the NWO, a dynamic that you're still going to be felt today. You still see the t-shirts, right?
Yeah.
The NWO is there.
Yeah. If you go to a vintage store, they'll cost you like $70.
Yes. Don't go to the vintage store in Rome, Georgia, and expect a good price for an NWO shirt to pay homage to Scott Hall, because it will not happen.
Well, that is why it's vintage.
It is why it's vintage, but that's just a little bit too far on the vintage side, excuse me. But that being said, let's move along to.
All right, who's number 3? Oh, we're counting down this list. All right.
We are counting.
We are down to the top 3. So who do you think made Rocky's top 3? All right,
Well,
let's
it would
find out.
be no other than the most electrifying man in sports entertainment today, The Rock.
The Rock.
So you had from the very beginnings, you had the Nation of Domination, which broke in Rocky Maivia. Eh, not a
Mhm.
great gimmick. It didn't really work out that well. But as he moved into the nation and eventually took over the Nation of Domination, it became a little bit more feasible as he then started shifting into that role of The Rock. I mean, and the son of the famous Rocky Johnson. I mean, he had big shoes to fill. I can only imagine that, and the Samoan dynasty that was before him. Everyone that comes out of that family is expected to do great things in wrestling. So
That
it,
that
it's
that's a big burden to bear.
that's a huge burden to bear. And Rock not only took it and ran with it. I mean, damn. I mean, look where he is today.
Hmm.
I mean, again, one not as notable as Hulk Hogan, but in this day and age,
Oh, I would
the
think
current generation, he's pretty
he's
damn close.
pretty, yeah. I'll
So,
imagine he doesn't go very far, very, very, very many places, and people don't know who he is.
oh, because he's a big son of a bitch too.
Yeah, well, this is true too.
Yeah. So the Rock
Yeah.
and the Rock, the WrestleMania, the Rock and Hogan stood across from each other in a match. I don't know if there is another night in wrestling that felt that way. I would have said at that point in time, you go going years back, that would have been, and Hogan's been in two of these positions, him facing the Warrior,
Hmm.
but then him versus The Rock. The crowd, it seemed like an eternity before they just stood and stared at each other as the crowd chanted both their names. And I pretty much think the Hogan was winning out on the chants even, and that's also a shocker. But again, going to two legends of our industry now were eye to eye with each other in one of the biggest events in history, and I don't know if that will ever be topped today. So again, number 4
Number 3.
is Hulk
Number
Hogan.
3.
Excuse me.
Yeah, number
Number
4 is
three
Hulk Hogan. Number 3 is
was The Rock.
The Rock. Now,
Number two.
number 2.
This is very fitting because
It is very fitting. Tell me, who made your list?
well, you're not on the list, but number 2 was Chris Jericho
Chris Jericho.
in the list, and Jericho.
That was a fantastic. I mean, it's very memorable.
Oh, it was so
I
awesome.
pull that on you a lot. You made my list.
Yes,
You
and I'm
don't want
all
on my
over it,
list.
trust me. Yeah. So,
All right,
but Jericho had the list. He had the Painmaker that he did in
Y2J.
Y2J, break the walls down. God, I mean, there was recently he did another gimmick, and I didn't follow it as well, and so, but I hear it's doing pretty good. AEW is unfortunately not been on my list, and we're going to talk about some of those because I've been a little out of connection with it recently, um, just due to our schedule, Forever
Mhm.
Pro, and digital media creation. It's challenging to keep up with everything that's going on in wrestling, especially when AEW has took up almost on every night of the week now.
I know. Yep.
They're running.
They've got a show going on.
So
yeah, he did the Wizard. Didn't he do one the Wizard?
he did kind of did the Wizard there when he was throwing fireballs.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yes, but I think he has something new that's kind of like the Bo Dallas kind of belief system, like I believe in you, or
okay.
something along that line. It's very obnoxious.
We haven't watched it in so long, but yeah, he's good with those obnoxious characters though.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Chris Jericho,
All right,
again, one of the goats, and not all that we have to mention one of the
Jericho
stiffest workers.
Made the list.
He did make the list. So congratulations, Chris Jericho.
All right,
you made the list.
now drum roll. We are down to number 1. We
And
are down to number 1.
how fitting, because this is pretty much on the anniversary that we lost this particular individual in Bray Wyatt. I think this is roughly
So
a
Bray Wyatt is your number 1. Why?
yes. How could Bray not be anybody's number 1? And give me just a moment, guys. Bray Wyatt encompasses everything that you want to be about a modern character. Now, I would have, and we're going to get to, the GOAT later on, as far as, because I don't think he deserved a place on just the numbers game. There's somebody that actually has it when it
Well,
comes to this.
okay.
But
Let's not hit around too much. Let's get back to Bray Wyatt.
but Bray,
What is special about him?
the creativity, the heart, the passion.
Bray was an artist.
Bray was an absolute artist, and I don't care. He was a heel, but people loved him still and cheered the heel. Like the Fireflies lit up the entire place. And to be a wrestler, it's amazing when you get someone to chant for you.
Right.
You hear them pop your name, but
Sing your song.
And when you get, but think about this, the level that everybody's holding up their cell phones, and you see millions of cell phones in a crowd lit up, and you inspired that in these fans. That right there is breathtaking. And I don't think it's ever been replicated before, and probably never will be on the exact organic level.
That type of scale.
Yeah, not on that scale. So, I mean, we lost. I am so disappointed that we lost Bray, because could you imagine 20 years from now what Bray would have accomplished and what else he would have done in this time? I mean, completely awe-inspiring is Bray Wyatt. And peace, Bray. We love you and your family. Thank you for letting us have that time with him that we did have with him.
We just passed the year anniversary.
Yeah, just past the year anniversary with that. Yeah. And so
Bray Wyatt,
yeah.
number 1.
And so I will bounce back just a minute, though. I want to take a break because I did not say it, and I planned on running the podcast yesterday. Happy birthday, Roddy Piper. He has passed away now, but yesterday was his birthday as well.
Okay.
So happy birthday to the legend.
All right. So before we get to our honorable mentions, because we do have some that didn't quite make the list, but we do kind of want to just give a shout out to and talk a little bit about. Let's just go back through our list. So number 10 was Sting, the list. Number 9 was Roddy Piper. Number 8, the Dudley Boys. Number 7, the Great Muta. 6, Mick Foley. And number 5 is Mommy herself, Rhea Ripley. Number 4 is a true American in Hulk Hogan. Number 3 is the superstar, The Rock. And number 2 is Jericho, who makes our list today. And rounding out at number 1 is the incomparable Bray Wyatt.
Absolutely. So,
all right, let's go to our honorable mentions, and then we're going to wrap it up with our choice for with the GOAT.
All right.
So who's your honorable mention?
Honorable mentions. I'm going to start off with Asuka. So,
now, you did mention she was trained by one of those people on your list, right? The Great Muta.
She was, and that was kind of the reason that I didn't fit Asuka into this list, because her gimmick is a lot of the replication of the Great Muta, which there's nothing wrong with that. It works, and she does it fantastically. Her skill level in the ring, it absolutely works for her. So Asuka is definitely an honorable mention. Now, I've got some bad news for you. Bad news because of that raspy voice. And the attitude of how he brought that out every time was when you heard him start off with a promo or something like that, that he had some bad news, and absolutely loved it. And then I'm going to move on. I know this guy.
Do you know somebody on my list?
I know somebody on this list.
Do you?
Yeah.
Who is it?
He trained me.
No.
Yeah. He probably doesn't always accept the fact that he
I'm
trained
sure
me,
he probably does.
but no matter what he tells you, I'm his favorite trainee other than Jazzy herself.
You are his number one student.
I am his number one student. He has several of my t-shirts.
I'm sure he does.
He does,
Yeah.
and he wears them normally.
Proudly. I'm sure.
So Jimmy Wang Yang.
No, what was his gimmick?
Jimmy
What was Jimmy?
was an Asian redneck.
We don't have those.
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah, he had the wife beater, I guess it's really a white tank top,
yeah.
blue jeans.
No, those are called wife beaters.
I thought they were
They are,
considered
yeah.
wife beaters. Damn,
He
Jimmy.
wear cowboy boots.
He did wear cowboy boots. Or so
The big hat.
yeah, and my wife is knocking everything over here
Oops.
on the set, so I'm gonna have to like get her a safety chair or something. But anyway, so Jimmy Wang Yang
At least it's not spinning.
is I will tell you a very tough teacher as far as training. I've saw more people that walked out of the ring with I'm gonna say crying, and they probably weren't far from it from listening to Jimmy tell them to do it again, or they thought they did something good and it just wasn't good enough for Jimmy.
Sounds like he's a perfectionist.
He is a perfectionist, but I absolutely love Jimmy for that, for the fact that because I myself am never going to do it good enough, that I can always do it a little bit better.
Mm.
And Jimmy pushed on that. And Jimmy, I'm gonna give credit to probably one of the reasons I'm sitting here today still is during training is Jimmy pushed the fact that when I was training with him that I was having some issues cardiovascularly and that he actually kind of felt that I was having some heart issues. And he pressed me to have them check deeper into what was going on. And then
thank you, Jamie. He wouldn't listen to his wife.
so then we went into finding out that I had that condition that we ended up having surgery and fixing it. But, again, that's a good catch from Jimmy Wang Yang.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy, I'm going to send you a bill actually for putting you over on this podcast because I'm putting you over big right now. But big shout out to Jimmy and Jazzy both. Congratulations on the new house yet, Jazzy.
All right, you have one more honorable mention.
Yes. I'm better than you, and you know it. So MJF. So the ring, the scar, but the pure ability to be obnoxious
and make people hate you.
And he doesn't, he is not one of those guys that when he leaves, he pisses people off in the airport, everywhere he goes, he is MJF. I mean, I hear this from, I was seeing a thing where Tony Khan was trying to make him call and apologize to a fan because he I don't know, he said some very offset words to a young man that was trying to get autograph from him. And again, he's one of these people that lives his gimmick and his character. And he probably is kind of an obnoxious asshole because just like Stone Cold is a son of a bitch, I mean, you don't got to try hard to do what comes natural to you.
Well, this is true.
So usually a good gimmick is your personality dialed up to 10. And so just over exaggerate everything you do. And assuming you're not just a really boring person and you turn that up to 10 and everybody's sound asleep. Now I said,
if you're a really boring person, you're probably not in the wrestling business.
I would hope that was the case, but the current women's champion, I mean, come on.
I don't even know who that is. Oh, yeah, okay, moving on.
So
moving on. What about your goat?
My goat.
Who is your goat?
Well, before I get to my goat, I said I had one.
Oh, that's a sheep.
Yeah, Stuart Bailey.
Oh yeah, his honorable mention. See, I've done gone off the rails. So sorry.
His honorable mention.
Who was his honorable mention?
So Stuart Bailey says Bruiser Brody. So Stuart Bailey put his honorable mention in as Bruiser Brody. Now, Bruiser Brody was a little bit before my time, so I didn't get to work with him, but Stuart Bailey would have gotten to work with this guy, and he was known for. I've heard so many great things about him. I don't know. This is something I didn't get to experience, but I do trust Stu's opinion of a character and who he got to work with, and I've heard great things about him ever since. So rest in peace, Bruiser Brody, and congratulations on making honorable mention. You might have made it further up, but unfortunately, I just didn't get to experience him as a worker myself. So that don't mean that eventually I might have Stu on here and we'll talk about him a little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah. So he's got a lot of insight to a lot of the people that I've never worked with or got an honor to meet. So that brings us down to the
Dun, dun,
GOAT,
dun, dun.
the greatest of all time.
Who is your goat?
Well, we said rest in peace a lot today.
We did.
So this character we could say has laid to rest so many people, or from WrestleMania to WrestleMania. And although to so many people he might be their Mr. WrestleMania, Kevin Ryan, uh, Shawn Michaels will always have that place for me, but The Undertaker, when it comes to gimmicks, there I don't think will ever be anyway. The closest that would have ever made it would have been Bray Wyatt to The Undertaker's gimmick.
Right. Yeah.
But Undertaker has to win hands down on the longevity of the gimmick. No one else could have took that gimmick and made it run so long. You're talking about The Undertaker, once he got to WWE, he never left.
Yeah.
One of the only wrestlers to ever do that. He got his career
stayed.
started there and stayed through the Monday Night Wars and everything, through it all, and retired with the WWE.
Lived his character too.
Lived his character. Yes. I mean, you're talking about.
He was the Undertaker everywhere he went.
Yes, absolutely. And so.
Do you remember when we saw the Undertaker?
Yes.
We went to.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Nashville.
We were in Nashville. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think it was a SmackDown show.
I don't remember if it was a SmackDown. I think it was a SmackDown.
I think it was a SmackDown show that we went to. We got to go to. And there's nothing like that electric feeling of when those lights go out, you know what's coming.
The
temperature drops, like the energy is like palpable. You can feel it. And it's just like the little lightning strikes, they just start running all over the auditorium. Like his entrance. I mean, you're talking about a lot of gimmicks and stuff, but the entrance and the music and the costuming, all of that plays into it. And so his entrance is absolutely a favorite of mine.
Yes.
Just because it is that engaging.
Yeah. Well, if we were having a list of the greatest entrances of all time, it would also fall to that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know that I can't think of put another entrance that tops his. No. So, well, that being said,
I think maybe on a future podcast we should do entrance music, a list of the greatest entrance music.
Maybe. I don't know about copyright issues, but we could probably try that. I guess if we just talk about it.
Yes. We could talk about it.
Yeah, we could talk about it. But I'll look into that. And I was going to say, they can even say small clips. I guess it depends on
we'll figure that out.
How long that is. Yes.
Would you like to see that? Would you like to hear a discussion of us talking about entrance music? So our greatest of all time would be The Undertaker.
It would be The Undertaker.
The Undertaker.
So
do you think it's time we laid the podcast to rest today?
I don't know. I was afraid like I would turn behind me and Teddy Long would be like threatening me with a tag team match with the Undertaker player.
Oh.
Yeah. So
you don't know.
But let's close it out.
We're gonna close it out for today, though.
As we always do, beware the 12 gauge.